Patrick Corelchi is a contributor to Breitbart News. He sometimes fills in on our evening show, Breitbart News Tonight. From time to time, Patrick wrote that incredible Tinseltown travelogue, which also we aired as an audio special on SiriusXM Patriot a few months back, about his experience being a right-of-center guy in left-wing Hollywood. And Patrick has a new podcast that is out today, so it must be a big day for you, Patrick. I know you're up to all hours in the night. It's an iHeartRadio podcast, Red Pilled America. RedPilledAmerica.com is the website. Patrick, good morning.
Good morning, Alex. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you, and we got a write-up of your show that we'll see at Breitbart News. It's about the first episode is about pop culture. You've got an homage to Andrew Breitbart in it. But tell me about the concept for the show in general.
It's a storytelling show that basically looks to tell Middle America stories, and it's a storytelling in the left of center world is it's dominated by the left of center world.
Sure.
And so, especially through the radio and through audio. So we basically came up with the concept after our experience with Hollywood and basically learning that they just did not care to tell our side of the stories. So we thought, hey, it's a perfect opportunity. Tinseltown Travelogue was really well received, and we thought, let's do this on a weekly basis. And so we're launching today. We're going into a little bit into deeper with our experience with Hollywood with our first episode, and we're kind of expanding and giving an unabridged version of what we talked about in our first Tinseltown show, and we're actually naming some names and kind of giving this experience that we had with our Me Too moment with some pretty big Hollywood people.
Patrick, there's so much I want to get to based off of that, but let's start with the fact that the left is seeing the podcast format and the ubiquity of audio as an opportunity for them to fight back. One of the thorn in their sides, if not the thorn, to be honest with you, has been talk radio, which is a free market. There is pretty much unlimited airspace, and conservatives have dominated in it. The left has also had problems with places like social media, where when it was an even playing field, it is no longer. Places like Breitbart thrived and dominated, and so Facebook has to cook their algorithms in order to hold us back. But talk radio has been a space where traditionally the right has been ascendant, the right has been dominant, and the left has tried to float ideas like the fairness doctrine to stop us. And the podcasting format, which has picked up huge popularity over the last 5 years or so, is largely left-wing, and a lot of the places that get cultural currency are left of center or slightly left of center shows, and this is something that is going to be devastating for the right if we don't respond to it. And I think this is sort of the premise of what you're talking about.
100%. I mean, the left, in regards to the storytelling side, the handicap that they've had is that a lot of their storytelling shows are publicly funded. They're from the National Endowment, the NPR world. Sure. And so because of that, they get they've had one leg up for quite some time now, and so I think that what we're seeing here is that it's a completely open field for the right of center world, and we're basically trying to stick our throw down a flag in that world.
Yeah, it's important that you're doing that. And so this first one is going a little deeper into your experience in Hollywood. It's very bold of you to come out and name names because they're a nasty crop of people out in Hollywood. I would know because I lived amongst them for a very long time, and I know how angry they can be. And so describe to us, just to reset, I know a lot of people are familiar with the Tinseltown Travelogue, which you can get at Breitbart News, one of our best pieces of work, I would say, this year. Tell us a little bit, Patrick, about your experience there, and give us some context that people might not know of if they aren't familiar with what you've written for us in the past.
Yes, of course. So when we wrote Tinseltown Travelogue, it was kind of we put out an olive branch to Hollywood to basically say, you can't continue to treat conservatives this way and not feel it at the box office. So we told the story. One of the stories that we told was this experience that we had with Hollywood, And basically, at one point we called out this man within this group for getting in bed with other people's kids, and the entire Hollywood community that we were within initially was on our side and thought and were appalled by the behavior. And the person, basically, this man was we called him Creepy Dad, was able to turn around the whole situation by spreading the true rumor. I shouldn't say rumor, but the truth that we were right of center people and that we were Trump supporters. And so immediately this entire Hollywood crowd backed up this guy and basically began to try to ostracize us and attack us. So we go into that story in much more detail and kind of talk about some of the group that we were within. And, you know, it's this incredibly prestigious private school in Hollywood that we were around, and we basically got to see the inside of how all of these people operate and the hypocrisies that they live with every day. We see these people on television. We see these people in the news. They basically lecture us on not wanting a wall and you know that we should be around you know people that they aren't around on a regular basis, and they live a completely different life behind closed doors. So we kind of go into that story, and the best way that I can describe these people, and you have to live it to really understand it. It was a cult, and these people, it's a liberal cult that demands ideological purity and demands leftism purity in thought. And if you step outside of that, they destroy you. And so we basically talk about that in this first episode to look at the Me Too moment and show the hypocrisy of the left.
And I haven't got a chance to hear the first episode yet, but I will. And I assume you do what you do very well, which is actually do try to reach out and give an olive branch, because you, like myself, we speak the language of liberals. We speak the language of the left. We know how to communicate with them very well. This is an advantage we find, and we are genuinely interested in having a dialogue if they want to as well. And not so much the other side, and I do think it's starting to hurt them. Let's play this clip again, Mr. Paul. This is an ad that is coming out, or that is out. It's on the front page of Breitbart News, featuring a bunch of actresses plus Laverne Cox, who is a trans woman, which means a biological male. 12A, Mr. Paul.
If somebody asked you, what do you care about? What would you say?
Losing your health care?
Equal pay?
Equal rights?
What really, honestly matters to you?
Look, if you're worried about your pre-existing conditions...
If you can't take another school shooting.
What matters to you? Civility?
Kindness.
Dignity?
Freedom of the press.
Freedom of speech.
All of our freedoms.
Do they matter?
Seriously. Do they matter to you?
Then vote.
If you care about immigration,
Children being taken away at the border.
if gun reform matters,
Climate change.
healthcare for young,
For old matters.
Then vote.
If basic human rights matter, then vote.
If women's rights really are human rights,
Then vote.
Don't lose hope.
vote as if it matters, because it does.
Get out and vote. It matters.
On November 6th, we're all in this together.
Yeah, Patrick, this is so tone deaf in my view that I think it's going to backfire. I don't think this stuff works anymore, and this is type of stuff you can almost chuckle. It's so on the nose. It's so it just doesn't work. But you're a pro in the ad world. What do you think?
I know, and I will say, I'm going to toot Breitbart's horn on this. They have successfully shown the hypocrisy of the left in Hollywood, and over the course of the last 10 years, these kinds of messages, they just do not work anymore. I mean, they're going to appeal to a certain segment of their base, but otherwise, the right is just doesn't. It almost works against them, and they listen now to these issues that they put out there, and they know exactly how not to vote now. So, I think that we've done a good job at exposing these people's positions and hypocrisy.
Yeah, and I do have one minor correction. I said Tinseltown Travelogue was this year. It's actually about a year ago exactly, which is kind of interesting. It's almost exactly to the day a year. Patrick Korelchi is with me. He's got a new podcast, Red Pilled America. Talk to us about where we can get that, Patrick, and keep an eye on what you're up to.
If you just Google Red Pilled America, it'll show up. It's on iHeartRadio's app, and it's also on our website. And we'll be going up on a weekly basis with these short stories, anywhere from 30 minutes to 40 minutes. We have 2 up today. We have the look at Me Too, 1 year of Me Too, and then we also do a second episode that we look at why the black community votes over 90% for the Democrat Party, and we tell the stories of Candace Owens and Diamond and Silk, and to kind of answer that question.
Okay, so Patrick, we got about 2 minutes left. Is there anything on your mind that you want to get to with this Breitbart audience today?
I think that it's this election is incredibly important, and I think that it's going to set the tone for the next couple of years. And I think that we really need to be a part of the conversation. I think that we need to get on into this pop culture and be involved in it, create content, listen to the content, support right of center creatives, and because if we can continue to build our platforms, we get our message out there, and that's kind of what we're all about right now.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And is there anyone else out there who you think, is there any signs that there's progress being made, or do you feel like Hollywood is still in the double down with their bubbling mode right now, where they're going to pretend as though there is not a America between New York and Los Angeles?
I can say with 100% certainty that Hollywood is not going to change. They will never let the right in. There is some hope out there. We've seen movies like the Gospel movie that came out recently that was really well received, and there's more like it coming.
So do you think, Patrick, that there's hope that the right will start funding such things? Or because to me, this is the darkest part, is I'm not seeing the initiative. I'm not seeing the grassroots effort and the donor class effort by the right to start funding these alternatives.
That's the hope. That's the hope, and we've been wanting that and hoping for that now for many years. So that's the hope, that they start to come in there and put some money into it.
That's Patrick Corelchi, redpilledamerica.com for the new podcast. Best of luck, sir. We'll give you a nice plug over at Breitbart News later today as well. That's all the time we got. We're back tomorrow, 6 Eastern, midnight Hawaiian. For more Breitbart News Daily, Breitbart.com 24/7, Webb and Wilkow next on SiriusXM Patriot.